Assalamu alaikum everyone. If you're enjoying this video and the other content on my channel and would like to continue to do so and see my channel grow, then please consider supporting my work at the pinned links at the top of the description of this video, as well as in the comment section. Your support is much needed and appreciated. Barakallahu feek. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless and reward you all.
Brother, mashallah, you work very fast. So Jake, Muslim Man did a video for us on the analysis of your debate. How many minutes is it, Muslim Man?
Probably like 7-8 minutes.
Want to check it out, Jake, or you want to keep discussing?
That's fine. You can play it if you want.
Right, so today we're not doing a deep dive into theology. Nope. Instead, think of this as a logical mystery, almost like a detective story. We're going to look at this really fascinating debate that, you'll see, hinges entirely on one crucial, hidden switch in the rules. So, let's jump right in. So, here's the central puzzle I want you to think about. How would you count to 3 if the things you're counting can't be divided at all? I mean, they're fundamentally inseparable. It sounds like a simple question, right? But believe me, it's the key to this whole thing. Now, every good mystery needs its key players. So, meet our cast. On one side, we've got Jake. Think of him as our investigator. He's just laser-focused on the logic. And on the other side, we have Nick, who's like our witness. He's the one providing the testimony and, well, the contradictions that Jake is about to unravel.
Okay, so where does any investigation start? You got to establish the law of the land, right? The rules of the game. And in this case, our witness Nick, he lays down the one single rule he claims he's going to follow for his entire argument.
And boom, there it is. Exhibit A, our primary piece of evidence. When he's asked point blank how he counts, Nick's answer is super direct. I would just count by division. Now remember that line, because that single statement, it becomes the absolute bedrock of Jake's entire investigation.
Okay, so what in the world does counting by division even mean? It's actually pretty simple when you break it down. It means things only get to count as more than one if you can separate them. If you can't, if they're just stuck together, inseparable, then you have to count them as one. That's the rule. Simple as that.
Let's make this even clearer. It's basically a 2-step process. Step 1, you look at the items and you just ask, can these be divided? Step 2, you count based on that answer. If the answer is yes, great, you count them as many. If it's no, well, you have to count them as one. It's a really clear, straightforward test.
And here's the thing. At first, this rule seems to work perfectly. I mean, both Jake and Nick are totally on board with it. They apply this counting by division rule to God, and because the persons of the Trinity are inseparable, boom, you get one God. It works. So at this point, everything's great. Everyone's nodding along, all on the same page.
But you knew there was a but coming, right? Here's the twist. Our investigator, Jake, he thinks, okay, what happens if I apply that exact same rule, not just to God as a whole, but to the persons themselves? And folks, this is where the whole thing starts to unravel. So let's really think about this. The crucial question is, if the rule is inseparable means one, and we all agree the persons themselves are inseparable from each other, then what number should you get when you count them? And this right here, this is Jake's big moment, his counterpunch. He points out that if Nick is actually being consistent with his own stated rule, counting by division, then those inseparable persons, logically, they should count as one person, not 3. He's literally using Nick's own logic against him, and it exposes this massive flaw.
So now Jake is thinking, wait a minute, something's not right here. For Nick to get to the number 3, there's just no way he's still using that counting by division rule. He has to be secretly switching to a totally different rule to make his math work.
And here's the proof. This is the smoking gun. To justify his count of 3, Nick suddenly stops talking about whether things can be separated. Instead, he starts talking about their different properties. He points out that one begets, one is begotten, and one spirits. Now, these are definitely distinctions for sure, but they have absolutely nothing to do with division.
So Jake gives this new method a name. He calls it counting by discernibility. And this rule is totally different. It says you can count things as more than one as long as you can tell them apart by their properties. Basically, if they aren't identical. You can see how this is a completely different game.
And this is it. This is the big aha moment of the whole case. It just lays it all out so clearly. On the one hand, you have the rule he said he was using, counting by division, which is all about separability. And on the other hand, you have the rule he was secretly using, counting by discernibility, which is all about them not being identical. Nick claimed to be playing by the rules on the left, but to get his answer, he had to cheat and use the one on the right.
And so Jake just calls him on it point blank. This is the core accusation. He's not just saying, hey, you made a mistake. He's naming the specific logical foul, the exact switcheroo that Nick pulled.
So Nick tries to defend himself with an analogy. He says, well, it's like one bagel with many raisins. The problem is, this analogy completely backfires on him. In fact, it actually proves Jake's point. Think about it. How do you get one bagel? Use division. It's one single object. But how do you get many raisins? You have to switch to discernibility. They're all distinct, separate items inside the bagel. So his own example proves he's using two different counting rules.
So, after all that, what's the final verdict? Well, if we look purely at the logical structure of the argument, we can see exactly why Nick's argument, as he presented it, completely fails. And look, the issue here isn't necessarily his conclusion. It's the faulty, inconsistent reasoning he used to get there.
This little table just sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? Nick's claim is I'm counting by division, but his action is to use non-identity to get to 3, and in the world of logic, that has a name. It's a classic fallacy called equivocation. It's when you use the same word or rule to mean two totally different things. And in a logical argument, that's a fatal flaw. Game over.
Now, let's be fair for a second. This whole analysis is really a critique of one specific argument, not his entire theological position. There were much stronger arguments Nick could have made. You know, he could have just owned it and said, yeah, I use two different rules for two different things. Or he could have gotten into more sophisticated ideas like relative identity. But he didn't do that. He insisted he was using one rule while clearly using another.
So really, the big takeaway here has nothing to do with theology. It's all about critical thinking. It's about training yourself to spot when someone in any kind of argument, at work, in politics, wherever, lays out a set of rules and then, maybe not so accidentally, changes them halfway through just to get the answer they want.
And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. When you see this happen out in the wild, and you will, trust me, is that hidden switch just an honest mistake? You know, someone just got confused. Or is it a deliberate tactic to win an argument at all costs? That's something I'll leave for you to decide.
Allahumma barak to the Muslim man.
Now, Omar, is that pretty much exactly how I explained it?
I'd say so, yeah.
Oh, wait, why did AI bake him in the end and say, Nick, you could have used like relative identity or something? It's literally cooking. What the heck?
I promise I didn't put it in there.
Yo, that's what I was gonna say. Like, Nick, you could have like had such a better appeal than what he did. Like, he could have appealed to RI. He could have appealed to something much better than what he did, and from what Jake is telling me, that's a horrible appeal what he did. But you know what's funny, Jake? I have 2 Christians so far telling me Nick succeeded in making the audience think that he he did good by getting gotcha moments and being theatrical. But in terms of the substance of the argument, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he lost.
Yeah, he's an idiot. But most of them are idiots, so it's not surprising that.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed this video and the content on my channel and would like to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell so you get notified of future videos. Like, comment, let me know your thoughts on this one, guys. Share this on your social media platforms or with your friends and family. No matter how big or how small your reach is, it really does help with the algorithm, guys. But until next time, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.